The PFL is an absolutely fraudulent MMA promotion, and I have a lot of evidence to prove just that. The PFL has recently come under some, in the hot seat maybe they're sitting now. They've come under fire by some of their own fighters, some of their own champions. They recently merged with Bellator not but a year ago, and now they've come under fire for not allowing fighters to get through their fights, for lying to fighters, for hiding things from fighters, for moving events for fighters, for canceling events on fighters, for not having contractual obligations met for fighters. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about it because they keep selling this PFL garbage as the best thing since sliced bread. We're the next best MMA organization. We're going to beat the UFC someday. We're going to be toe-to-toe with the UFC one day. We're going to spread MMA across the entire world. I don't believe a second of it. And I have proof right here. Patchy Mix, bantamweight champion of the world, one of the best fighters outside of the UFC and MMA. If you don't know who he is, go look up his finish over Raufeon Stots, okay? Tragic what is going on right here. Patchy Mix just said this on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I've been training my ass off for the last half of a year for nothing. This is frustrating in the prime of my career, and I've had my fight in November canceled. Then now again, I'm being told I'm off the January Dubai card. I'm the best in the world, and I want to fight to prove it. Patchy Mix last fought in, I believe, May of 2024. It is now almost December 2024. And he has not had a fight lined up, has not had a fight announced. He was supposed to fight in the Paris card. They canceled the Paris card for unknown reasons. He was supposed to be fighting Leandro Higo. Higo also came out in defense of Patchy Mix. This is very frustrating. We have no clue about when we might be fighting after 2 fight cancellations in a row. Okay? They were supposed to fight in November and then January. Both times they were canceled for no reason. They are the fighters. They are the ones involved. They are the ones putting on the show. They are the ones that the fans love. Not the PFL, not Bellator, not the belt. We like these guys, okay? People like Conor McGregor. People like Alexander Volkanovski. People like Max Holloway. People like Khabib Nurmagomedov. We don't fucking care about the PFL, okay? I don't care about anybody in the PFL. Francis Ngannou is the only character they have that's anything interesting. He's a good man, and he has good values, and I care about him. I care about Patchy Mix, man. And he's not fighting, so therefore I don't care about PFL. Corey Anderson, not fighting, so I don't care about PFL. I care about Corey Anderson, not fighting. Time is of the essence in this game. We can't waste our primes on the sidelines. I'm working hard to take that title, spending money, sweat, and blood. What is going on? Dude, as a fan of MMA, as somebody who watches almost every single MMA promotion that I can get my hands on, I do not understand what is going on with the PFL. They consistently put out one of the worst products I have ever seen week to week. I try to support them, I try to watch, I try to tune in, I try to buy the pay-per-views, but I can't bring myself to do it anymore. I am tired of it. Corey Anderson, former UFC fighter, aging like warm cheese over here, waiting for the PFL to give me a call. But don't get it twisted, we still ready to defend the strap against anybody, young or old. Chris Cyborg responding to this. I'm ready to defend my Bellator MMA belt after capturing the PFL belt. Put me on the same card as Overtime. ABC123, aka Cyborg says, get me a fight. I have nothing lined up. It's been months. Patricio Pitbull, though, went to town. Listen to this. I haven't fought since February. I wanted to fight 3 times this year, but I was told that I'd have to wait until December 31st for the Rizin vs. Bellator card. This has fallen through, as Rizin does not like working with the PFL brass. So of course that didn't happen. He only found out online that his opponent would be fighting someone else. They had a replacement. I brought people over, spent money with a camp, and now there's no fight. So he spent money on a camp getting prepared. It's almost December, only a month to go, half his training camp's over, and just now he's finding out that's not even happening. Really? And you want to rival the UFC. You want to put on a promotion, put on shows that rival the UFC, that are, quote, the same as the UFC, Don Davis. Really, motherfucker? Come back this shit up. Come talk to me. I'll ask the hard questions. Please. I saw that I'm tired of it. Let's continue. They said things didn't work out with Japan and that it wasn't their fault. Okay. So why don't you have a stage, a show somewhere else? What kind of promotion can't give fighters at least 2 fights a year? Some haven't even fought this year. Bellator used to be big. Things worked here until the PFL bought Bellator and has done nothing with it since. Always had answers. They never just canceled the show, and they said they had no idea when we would be booked. So Bellator used to keep on top of shit when Scott Coker was running it, and now that Don Davis and everybody else is in charge, they can't figure anything out. Even regional promotion have dates set up for April of next year already. This merger has been a disaster for the sport of MMA. Meanwhile, we have to see the top brass talking about offering tens of millions of dollars to social media personalities and semi-retired fighters while cutting 90% of the roster and telling guys making 30 and 30 that they're too expensive. And now I'll get into this in just a fucking second. How can you become the #1 in the world if you don't stage events and don't want to pay fighters? I am very worried about the future of Bellator and MMA in general. I feel very worried for all the fighters who didn't even get to fight this year or were cut because they don't make shows or think they're expensive, and all the fighters who are now forced to take pay cuts. This is wrong. We need answers. We need the fighters and fans to be respected. This is not a game or just some business. These are people's lives we are talking about. A serious promotion would give fighters the chance to fight at least 3 times a year if they're healthy. Fucking Christ. Patricio Pitbull is the featherweight champion in Bellator right now. Okay? Why did he not fight Brendan Loughnane? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I am tired of this. One more thing before I put in my 2 cents. I feel like the part of PFL's issues, shout out to Jack Wanon or whoever this is, issues is that they simply have too much going on. Too many offshoot promotions, too many fighters, plans fall apart and people slip through the cracks because they're doing 1 million things at once. This is a graphic that they showed late last year about how they're going to spread. They're going to have PFL Europe 2023 and then PFL MENA, then PFL Africa, Australia, Latin America, Asia. But it's all going to be broadcast across different promotions, different TV stations, different streaming services. Bellator and PFL are one fucking organization. But yet I have to go to HBO to watch Bellator, and I have to go to ESPN to fucking watch PFL, and I can't keep up with it. I can't watch PFL Europe even though they have 2 of the biggest prospects across MMA inside PFL Europe. I can't even watch them here in America. Am I supposed to take you seriously? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Now, let me just share this. These champions that are not fighting for Bellator, for PFL, it is very easy to understand why. Corey Anderson, former UFC fighter that they picked up that they wanted to fight in the PFL and in Bellator, okay? So he had a huge contract coming over to Bellator from the UFC because he was a highly touted UFC fighter coming over to Bellator, the smaller promotion. They had to pay him the big bucks. He then wins the belt and gets another pay bump, okay? But since winning the belt, has not fought for the PFL. Why not? Okay? Why have some other random PFL fighters keep fighting in the season format? Because they're cheaper? They never fought. Most of them never fought in the UFC. Some of them have, but they were not very successful. Corey Anderson was fairly successful. Shane Burgos was fairly successful. Where has Shane Burgos been? Oh, I know. You gave him a big contract because you were taking him from the UFC, and now you can't afford it because you spent all the money buying Bellator for absolutely no reason. Patchy Mix, former Bellator fighter, has a huge contract because he was a former champion before the merger. You're not letting him fight. Chris Cyborg, getting a lot of money coming from the UFC, coming from other promotions to Bellator, getting a big contract, winning the title, getting an even bigger contract, and now the PFL doesn't want her to fight, but maybe once a year if they can even do that. Patricio Pitbull, one of Bellator's most successful fighters, long-standing champion. Why is he not fighting? Because he's got a huge contract and they don't want to pay it. They can't put them all on these cards because they can't afford it, and it's very clear. There's guys on Twitter and on X or whatever you want to call it that are defending PFL every which way. I've tried to defend them. I've tried to stick up for them. I've tried to watch their events, but they're slow, terrible production. Can't get over it. The commentary's fine, but aside from that, it's awful. The fights suck. They don't even elbow each other. It's not even real MMA. They can't afford to pay their fighters that have big contracts who are former champions, who were big fighters before the merger. They won't let the guys who were fighting before the merger fight because they're too expensive. It's plain and simple. It's easy to see as a clear, sunny day, okay? The fucking sun's shining down on you. That's all you have to know. The former fighters, the former champions will not fight because they cannot pay them. Gegard Mousasi came over with a huge contract from the UFC to Bellator, won the title, has a big contract. He has not fought since the merger. Explain to me, PFL. Please, Don Davis, come explain this to me. Anybody out there want to challenge me, fucking bring it on. I'm tired of this. They're a frauds. It's a hoax. PFL's a sham. I don't care what they're doing over in the Middle East. It's all fucking fraudulent. I'm going to tune in this Friday for the championships. I want to see how they run this shit. How are you going to explain all this? Are they going to brush this off like it's nothing? Probably. But I'm still going to be there to tune in and watch it because I want to see it all crumble and fall. It's a disaster over there in the PFL. Let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.